In this video, you'll see me for 2 or 3 paragraphs, then I'll disappear, and you can see what residents of and visitors to the Boise area do for fun during our hot summers. We have a couple of weeks where it gets hot. I have more footage of floating the Boise River than I could use for this video's length, but I've been wanting to use it, so I'll speed it up to make it even more visually interesting. If you watch to the end, you will have participated in an experiment in subliminal programming. I use it a lot at greenera.network. I'm not saying I have quick flashed images or phrases yet, though I might play with that sometime. There's many kinds of marketing and programming, some of which are not obvious to consumers. In this case, though I think my honest discussion will mostly keep your interest, your focus may also be on the action in front of your eyes. So much of what your ears hear will imprint on your subconscious while your attention shifts. Marketers do this all the time. How many of them tell you about it though? All women who can read English are invited to help me resolve the main problem I have right now with my website, greenera.network. There's a lot of me running my neck on video there and nobody else. That is not what I wanted at all. I have many ways in mind to invite community participation, but meeting the right people's taken me longer than I planned. Before I disappear, since you might be wondering, this scar on my lip is from a week ago Friday. I got into a short tussle with a large power tool. I'm pretty sure it wasn't turned on. I'm pretty sure I was a lot more physically graceful 20 years ago. But to make up for it, I try harder to be more emotionally graceful now and much more respectful to women than I once was. I have been a real bastard at times. I'll apologize ahead of time if the fact that I wasn't raised well in that sense is still evident. I'm still learning new and better ways of thinking. That also plays into, wait for it, our discussion, which is related to and context for my two ideas. You might not want to stick around for an adult discussion of male-female relations from a man's perspective, so I'll make the offer first. I believe what I have in mind could benefit me and you. By you, I mean any woman. I thought this up because a whole bunch of women were suddenly my new Facebook friends. Men too, of course, but a lot of these women seem lonely or willing based on their profile pics. I'd like to channel that energy into something useful, possibly educational. My primary goal is to find good-hearted and ethical people to participate at any level they want in my weird and experimental website. I'm developing what I call a guerrilla marketing cooperative. It will initially serve Idaho, starting with Ada and Canyon County. That's where I get around to. In a much broader sense, I intend Green Era Network to be an educational and/or thought-provoking resource to web visitors from anywhere they can understand the English language. I've got mad skills, and I live frugal enough to work real cheap while getting the local guerrilla marketing co-op component started. It's designed to promote community good and cooperation between people and businesses. It's to promote good economy and ecology, those are the same thing by the way, saving money, and trying to resolve social and political problems by addressing them from an ethical point of view. Lots of the educational function I mean to develop will teach important subjects like science and history. You probably understand that between the pandemic and the political and social problems churning through the world right now, the best subjects to know a lot about might be both science and history. Maybe there's other subjects that interest you that you think we should all know about in these times. If so, you could help, plus gain a little fame and cred and look good doing it. I need visitors to greenera.network. That's where all you interesting, some of you not particularly shy based on your profile pictures, gentlewomen can help. Any woman who can smile is attractive, in case you didn't know. I assume some of you must think I am also in some way interesting. Well, I actually am, but you'd have to be living within driving distance to know that. If you want to know me, nearly everything that I am about is or will be on that website. I'm asking you to find educational articles on the internet and look good reading them into your cell phone camera or your laptop or tablet or whatever. If I wanted to learn about science in the news, for example, I'd look at ScienceDaily.com first. It's a well-presented website with the subjects well categorized. You could learn a lot there, if you wanted, just by reading. But I want us all to learn a lot too. I'm inviting you to go find an article about anything you think is important and factual and educational. I want you to read it over well enough that you understand what you're reading so you can make a believable presentation. If you need to look up how a few words are properly pronounced, of course you should ahead of time. Realize that while you are doing this, you are learning so you can teach others. I'll post the videos on an educational page at greenera.network. When you're ready and you've read the article over enough to sound like a journalist or another kind of expert, get as pretty as you are comfortable being in that context, then make the video. Future visitors will come to Green Era Network because that's where women make educational videos. Be pretty and alluring if you're comfortable there. If you send me a link to a video in which I think you're a little too slutty for my purposes, sorry, I hate that word, I'll gently ask you to try again. You can be eye candy and read whatever is important to you in educational and also do a good job with your presentation. Find a good balance that works for you. Your videos will, of course, be silently judged by some based on how attractive you are. Some viewers judge how classy you are while being attractive. Also, on your presentation, like a newscaster who reads copy somebody else writes, think of yourself like you are for a day going to become an expert and present one lesson to us. Send me a link to whatever you read along with the YouTube link where you've uploaded your video. I'll probably use a screen capture to give the publisher credit, where people might want to read up. You can do this once or a bunch of times, which would give you more practice, of course. It's simple for me to add videos to a website page. Use a name or nickname, and I'd like to know where you are, please. Maybe start your video with something like, "This is Cindy from Auckland, NZ, the home of the highly competent and very cute head of state, Jacinda Ardern," blah, blah, blah. Something like that, so people can relate a little to you and where you are. Now the movie turns R for restricted. It's for people who can listen to adult subjects. I will be speaking honestly about man-woman issues and society a little. If you have to deal with men, whatever age, I want to share information you'll find useful because I am in a somewhat unique position. There's things men want to say to you, but they don't, for a few reasons that do not in any way apply to me. Some men are shy or they don't want to appear vulnerable, so they won't bring up sensitive subjects. Some men really want to stay in your good graces. That's why they don't discuss issues that they think you will think are controversial. Another obstacle is that most men aren't particularly fluent in English. They don't know a lot of big words like most women do, yet ironically they sometimes talk down to you like you're the child. That's humiliating, of course, but women tend to give men grace because you assume we are just ignorant or being ignorant. We can all admit that sometimes the only power a woman has in her relationship with a man is to withhold sex or certain sexual favors that men value. Men complain about it, but meantime, they won't give you any other power. Sometimes they're even threatening in your relationship. So what other defenses do you have when all you want is a little respect and actual love? Even in the 21st century, women have less power. They're usually paid less for the same work, or the necessary work they do is less valued. I don't know how to solve all that. But maybe I can make a couple suggestions about intimate issues. Intimate male-female relations at home are not entirely separate from work relations, of course. Furthermore, it leaks into politics and society too, right? We all know that when you are treated disrespectfully because you don't sport a penis, that can be at home or at a party, a business meeting, or a city council meeting. It's the same disrespect and devaluation, just different men in different locations. The actual problem is that to some degree or another, most men objectify women. Specifically, they view you as an object into which they'd like to deposit semen, right? To the worst of us men, that's your only value, unless we'd like you to also wash our clothes and cook dinner. Saying sorry on behalf of men is meaningless without repentance, and I can't change everybody's behavior. There may be something genetic that makes us that way, but women can, to some degree, help train men to be somewhat better. It's in a male dog's nature to hump your leg, but you can certainly train a dog to quit. Most men are at least as smart as their dogs. I'm going to gently suggest that there's a spectrum of behavior and appearance that all women fit into. Where you are within that spectrum in certain situations can influence how you are training men. Some women train men to respect them and other women. Some women, whether they realize it or not, are training men to disrespect them and women in general. Some women, whether they realize it or not, are training men to disrespect them and women in general. This second group, I assert, generally, not in all cases, but mostly don't have as much self-respect as does the first group. The more self-respect you have, the more you are likely to demand respect from others, men, women, your own children, alien life forms, whatever. My theoretical spectrum might be a little controversial, but I swear I'm not judging anybody in this context. I just believe that some women don't always understand two related factoids. A woman can dress or move or act, not always deliberately, in ways that they might think are doing men a favor or that men don't notice. First, they may be teaching men the wrong lessons. Second, from my point of view, you aren't necessarily doing me, the observer, the favors you might believe you are doing. On one end of the spectrum are women who choose to wear burqas. Near them are women who under no circumstance show a lot of leg. They would never take a chance that a man might see any cleavage or anything else a sexually hungry man might find interesting. Some of them are maybe highly religious and Puritan. Maybe some actively support feminist ideals and want to be valued for everything they do right, unrelated to being physically attractive. On the other end of the spectrum are women I think of as, the victims of how men treat them. Again, I'm not judging here. I have gotten so many Facebook friend requests, like 30 or 40 a day in the past week or so. I have so many of these projects that I'm trying to do. I literally don't have time for any of your attempts to start conversations. I really want to with any of you who have something valuable to talk about, but I really can't now. I would probably research your Facebook feeds first to see if you seem intellectually worth talking to. I'm not into text flirting or sexting, which seems like it would be so sad. If you are far away, what's the point? Most women, of course, are somewhere between those wearing burqas and those who, whether they like it or just don't seem to have better options, make porn films or turn tricks for a living. When I drove taxi for 7 years, I met quite a few, shall we call them business women, who worked the evening shift. Quite a few of them asked for me specifically if I was working to drive them to an address and pick them up an hour later. They were very nice because I was respectful. If they wanted conversation, I could almost always find something interesting to learn from them. Sometimes they would ask me to wait for the hour, the meter ticking of course, because they were unsure about a new client. My number was on their speed dial in case there was a problem, so they obviously felt safe with me. Very few of the hookers I met were uneducated or uninteresting. Some of them, I imagine, believed they didn't have better employment options. None of them, by the way, had pimps. They were all self-employed. One of the busiest prostitutes I drove around had been a registered nurse. Another had taught elementary education. So, am I a bad person for supporting the prostitution industry, or am I a good person for protecting vulnerable women? You see, most issues in society are much more complicated than humans realize. That's why it's at least a little unfair, if you don't know all the facts, to judge people so harshly. Most of us make compromises, maybe have to make compromises, in order to live in the world. In between the burqas and the porn stars, most of women's behaviors around men, including their physical appearance, is what I broadly call marketing and social commerce. I'll tell you a story in a minute in an effort to suggest that behavior and or dress code can keep a man away whom you'd like close, or draw attention you might not want without realizing it. Both of these were taught me, but not the lessons my trainers intended. Think of television newscasters, people you see on your local channels and doing national news on whatever frequency. Specifically, think of the women. Notice that very few, by common social standards, are physically plain or, God forbid, ugly. I can't think of any. Men can be pretty rough looking and still present news stories. Women need to be at least somewhat attractive in order to get men and women to watch. That's our society. It's not fair, obviously. We could all learn to behave better in many ways. Nonetheless, in order to fit in and not be the oddball, which might make us less employable or have fewer friends, we compromise. We get so used to compromising in order to get along, we forget there are circumstances in which we would be fine, maybe better off, behaving better than average by our own ideals. I don't intend to embarrass any persons, living or dead, in telling about the uncomfortable circumstances I was in. I'm not being specific, no identifying details, and besides, this all happened years ago, far away. It involves two women. The first woman was someone I lived with for a while. Understand first about me that for more years than not, I have been strictly monogamous. Like anybody married and divorced more than once, it's been serial monogamy, but I don't believe I, by nature, prefer to chase skirt if there's someone home who is sweet, respectful to me as I am to her, and sexy as hell. Being sexy is more about attitude, by the way, than appearance. However, appearance itself matters, thus sexual attraction, male or female, it's the same both ways, if your partner doesn't keep him or herself healthy and clean. When two people get married, there's a legal contract between them that is meant to tie them together more forcefully than if they just decide to live together. It's unfair if either person within this binding contract decides to rely too much on that bond, lets themselves go, turns into a slob, gets fat and or lazy. It's unfair especially if the other party to that contract is doing everything she or he can to stay active, healthy, and attractive. People get all fit, lose the extra pounds to get married. Pretty soon they gain it all back and more afterwards. In marketing terms, that's called bait and switch, and it's not just, regardless of who does it. It happens a lot here in America because we have an epidemic of obesity. Why? Food is inexpensive here. Most of my new Facebook friends seem to come from elsewhere, so that's why I'm telling you. We're fat over here. In your country, you have big people too, but I'll bet not so many because you can't all afford to eat like us big-assed Americans do. I'm actually sorry for us. Maybe Americans who are also watching should think this over a little bit. So I had long emotional bonds with a woman. I had been her friend for quite a while when I moved in with her. Until then, I didn't actually know how she lived and acted at home, of course. I quickly realized that she was not in any sense who I thought she was. She was very disagreeable about many things, which was an unpleasant surprise. Unfortunately, her argumentative attitude vastly complicated another problem we had between us. Complicated it so much I never could resolve it. I need to explain one more thing, as much for context as possible self-promotion. Don't think I'm suggesting that I was ever a member of the Ku Klux Klan, but a girlfriend once told me I was a wizard under the sheets. I have always worked to improve my skills, to be responsive to what a woman likes, to be experimental without being threatening. I've always wanted to give better and more often than I got in return. If that's unusual, it shouldn't be. Any man who wants to keep a good woman around because he loves and respects her would be the same, wouldn't they? which means, to be as metaphorical as I can, if I buy one of those long submarine sandwiches, I might nibble on one end for a while, then find that I like the ingredients on the other end tasty also. I might go at both ends of a really attractive sandwich that's in the mood to be consumed, so to me, cleanliness at both ends is very important. I shower carefully before I eat those kinds of sandwiches. I brush and use mouthwash. I trim my nails and shave a lot for cleanliness. I'm being respectful. I had to tell you that because this woman was willing to make me sandwiches every night of the week if I was hungry. By nature, I can still get hungry, and often, but her sandwiches were sour at both ends. There was something backward about how she had learned to make sandwiches. It should have been something a caring guy friend who lived with her could explain, because she wasn't stupid. There was just this hole in her way of thinking. To continue the metaphor, if you make me a few sandwiches and I start suggestions about them, your first thought might be that there's a problem. If I suggest that one end could perhaps use a little vinegar and water while the other could use alcohol or peppermint, it's possible that those aren't all exactly the ingredients you would use, but you can at least understand there's a problem, right? And what I'm trying to communicate must be important to me because it's a be careful topic. Remember, I prefer to eat good sandwiches made at home. I don't want to have to shop around, maybe pay for a better sandwich somewhere else. What if every single time I mention one or two possible ingredients, your first and second reaction is to argue, to be offended, regardless of how gently I try to put it? What if you suggest I'm not thinking of exactly the correct ingredients, that there's better ways, but then you never seem to follow up? What if you become even more disagreeable because I'm eating fewer sandwiches now, to the point I give up ever trying to mention the sourdough or whatever? Once I realize that any discussion will always make a tense situation worse, silence is the only option left. Meanwhile, the sandwich maker and I started attending a church together. I admit here and now that one of the reasons I liked the church was because there was an attractive female staff member there. This is the second woman in my story. She was a teacher. I don't believe finding a woman attractive is sinful necessarily. It's a matter of what you do with the thought. When a smiling, attractive woman welcomed us personally and warmly the first time we hit the door, that was good marketing, whether by accident or not. After the service, she came over and engaged me in conversation too. I don't remember the subject, but I do remember that she spoke so intelligently. I later realized that the fact that she was, from my perspective, a pretty young woman had been forgotten for the moment. So far, given my situation at home, attending that specific church seemed to be a balanced choice. Good marketing-based human attraction, but enough substance, as long as there's another similar conversation available, to be worth my time and less risky from my sexual hunger's perspective. There's one more bit of historical context you'll want to know. I was raised in a conservative church. We debated church camp rules. It was decided that wearing a skirt or shorts that were shorter than 2 inches above the knee was inappropriate. Society is less modest since the early 1970s, but my expectations, more precisely what I would think is sexy in church, is that dated. Everything is context. You might wear an outfit to float the Boise River that you wouldn't wear to work, right? On the first hot summer day, every woman who dresses for comfort, thus shows a lot of skin, is, to me, crazy sexy because it happened all at once. A month later, I won't say they become part of the landscape because I'm not a Puritan. I'm just saying that they are not as jarringly attractive as they were a month earlier. So we attended that church for a while. My problem had 2 aspects, the first of which, from my old-fashioned standards but functional libido, was that the teacher frequently showed a lot more leg than I was used to seeing in that context. It's possible she did nothing actually wrong, but once I realized that she also showed quite a bit of other interesting skin, that it was not a healthy place for me and my norms to be. I should have made my excuses and tried another congregation, but I didn't, because that nice, personable, well-educated teacher became too easy for me to fixate on. Perhaps this is something older women are supposed to teach younger ones about. She often bent over enough to show a whole lot of delicious cleavage to a person who had fixated on her. I attended there months longer than I should have, and for all the wrong reasons. That's it. The end. Do what you'd like with what I've told you. Peace.